The night Pastor Ezekiel came for me, the air smelled like burnt wood and fear. I could hear his footsteps, heavy and slow, crunching on the dry leaves outside our hut. My mother held me close, her hands trembling, but her voice was steady. "Stay quiet," she whispered. But we both knew he wasn't there to talk. He was there to finish what he started. It had been weeks since Ezekiel returned to the village. No one knew where he had been all that time, but when he came back, he was different. His eyes were darker, his smile sharper. He no longer preached about peace and forgiveness. Instead, he walked through the village with a machete in hand, muttering curses under his breath. The villagers avoided him, but he sought them out, one by one. And now, it was our turn. The door creaked open, and there he stood, his shadow stretching across the floor. His mask, the one he always wore to hide his face, was gone. For the first time, I saw his true face. It was twisted, like something had broken inside him. He looked at me, then at my mother, and grinned. "You thought you could hide from me after all you have done. You came for me and now I'm here for you. You are going to pay the price," he said, his voice low and cold. My mother stepped forward, shielding me with her body. "Ezekiel, leave us alone. Whatever you're looking for, it's not here." But he didn't listen. He lunged at her, and they struggled. I wanted to help, but I was frozen. My mother was strong, but Ezekiel was stronger. He pushed her to the ground, and she didn't get up. I screamed, and that's when he turned to me. I ran. Out of the hut, into the dark forest. The trees seemed to close in around me, their branches like claws. I could hear Ezekiel behind me, his breathing heavy, his footsteps getting closer. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stop. If I did, it would be over. Suddenly, I tripped over a root and fell. Ezekiel was right there, his machete raised. I scrambled back, my hands searching for anything to defend myself. My fingers wrapped around a piece of wood, sharp and jagged. I swung it blindly, and Ezekiel stumbled. He lost his balance and fell backward, his head hitting the edge of a broken tree stump. He didn't move after that. I sat there, shaking, unable to look away. The forest was quiet now, except for the sound of my own breathing. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. Instead, I thought of my mother. She had given everything to protect me, and now she was gone. I don't know how long I stayed there, but eventually, I got up and walked back to the village. The sun was rising, and the villagers were starting to stir. They saw me, covered in dirt and blood, and they knew what had happened. No one said a word. They just looked at me with sad eyes. That day, the village buried Ezekiel in an unmarked grave. No one spoke of him again. But I still see his face in my dreams, twisted and angry. And I still hear my mother's voice, telling me to stay quiet. I survived that night, but I lost a part of myself. And I will never forget the cost of that survival. This was how it all ended.